Welcome to Women in the Arena podcast, the podcast celebrating women doing extraordinary things in plain sight. I'm your host, Audra Egan, and our mission is to elevate the value, strength, and resilience each woman brings to the world. Without further delay, let's go ahead and start the show. Welcome in, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me again this week. Today is part 2 of our interview with Christine Beckwith. In part 2, she shares with us a part of herself that not very many people get to see. I hope you're ready to learn more about Christine, so let's go ahead and start the show. You have that DNA, that scrappy DNA, that I think a lot of us have. And I agree with you about this whole mean girl culture. I've been fighting against the mean girl culture since I was a teenager. I've never liked it. I've never participated with it. I think it's counterproductive. I think that it's basically eating your own, which is, one of the reasons why I created this platform, because I wanted to demonstrate how similar we all are rather than being different individuals. And you'd mentioned something about women having momentum, because you're right. We finally have a foot in the door, and there's starting to be a trajectory forward for women everywhere, not just here in the US, but everywhere in the world. And you can feel that energy. But you mentioned something about us as women having to do work on ourselves first before we can be successful together. Yeah. Are there any bits and pieces that you can think of that specifically, maybe it's traits that we all commonly share that we have to overcome? And maybe it's not something that we even consciously realize. It may have been it may be a traditional characteristic that we just simply inherited. Mm-hmm. Is there anything that comes to mind that you're like, we got to fix that?
I mean, I feel like I've been a work in progress my whole life. I will tell you, and this sounds self-serving as a consultant, but I promise you it's not. I have been an educational geek my whole life, where if there was a free class, education came hard to me. So I'm going to back up for a minute. And I've told this story before, but I think it's really important. When I was in 8th grade and I was 14 years old, I had to choose whether I was going into college and picking business, college prep, or vocational. And my parents wanted me to do business. They thought it was practical. They knew then they did not have the money to send me to college. This sounds horrible, but I promise you, my mom and dad are the best people on earth. They gave us a beautiful home. We were rich in many ways. We were not wealthy people. And they were realists. They were really realists. They didn't want to see my dreams get shattered, so they kept our feet on the ground. And I was a dreamer, so I was a lot of work for them, because out of the womb, I was like gonna, fly to the moon. And they were constantly bringing me down to earth. And I felt like they felt very pessimistic to me, because they were constantly telling me what my limitations were. And maybe in some way that had like a slingshot effect for me. I don't know. But as I entered high school, I actually forged my mother's signature on a document that put me into college prep. And it wouldn't be till the end of the first semester of my freshman year, bringing my report card home, by the way, which was straight A's. And my older sister, sorry, Tammy, that didn't have straight A's, getting off the school bus. And she wasn't worried because she hadn't flunked anything. So that was her qualifier. And mine was, oh my God, they're going to know I'm in the college prep, which was, my mother was so mad and marched to school and demanded them to switch me into the business. And she became challenged by my school principal, who sat her down and said that he saw something special in me and thought that she should let me stay in college prep and work my way towards school scholarships, and that they would have a guidance counselor work with me. And that's what happened. For 4 years, I did extracurricular. I was groomed for scholarship, and I would go to school on full scholarship by the time I graduated. And so because of that work, I really became very mature and responsible at a very young age, because I had to do that. I knew I had to do that to get where I was going. And so I think about that today, and I've been a perpetual student of life. And so I've gone through divorce. I have gone through clinical depression, which I've written about in my books. I've had things that have shown up in my life unexpectedly. and I've had to overcome them, and they've been deep emotional potholes, if you will. And I've been through the good and bad markets on top of that, closing that whole firm down. And so, like everybody else, I've had my challenges, pretty much starting my adult life with not a, dollar in my pocket, really. And not afraid to say I'm a multimillionaire today. And the reason that I am is because I have continued to believe that I am a work in progress. And so the work I've put in, I've done the Liar Lid, the Hero's Journey, and a bunch of different series. I've done everything that the companies would put out. And I'm still working on myself. I put 6 hours a month into coaching on myself. I don't always want to do it, by the way. The days that I'm scheduled, I hem and haw like everybody else. And I think, oh God, I got to do this. Here's what I'm going to tell you. I right now am writing a book, my second solo book. I've written 5 collaborative books between Wise Eyes, which was my only solo book, and the one I'm writing right now, which is called Finding Honor, The Journey to the Truth. And it is a book about the human journey. So this question could not be more pointed. It is literally, and I know you didn't even know I was writing a book because I didn't tell you that. So I know this isn't some shticky thing we did for the podcast.
Yeah, no, had no idea. It was completely accidental.
You heard it here first, folks. But it literally is a book that I'm digging deep on. My last chapter is called Reflected Hate. It's about the things that I have committed to not doing. I don't mind sharing. One of those is gossip. In January 1st of 2018, I committed myself to not gossiping. Well, the chapter unfolds in such a way in this book where it tells you that I did this because I didn't feel good when I talked about other people. And I recognize that. Unfortunately, not to damn my own family and my greatest friends, but it seemed to be the center of most of our conversations would be gossiping. And so I can't tell you how difficult this one thing was. And on top of 100 things I've worked on myself, this one thing was so hard. And I couldn't even talk to my mom for a little while because she'd call and want to talk about my sisters. And I'd be like, Mom, I can't, I'm not gossiping. Well, what fun is that? How are you going to talk to anybody? Everybody talks about and I'm like, I'm only going to talk about anybody if I'm helping or healing, if I'm saying a person's name or speaking specifically about them. Well, sooner or later, this began to rub off on the people that talked to me. And the people that didn't like talking to me anymore because of this change I made talked to me less. And so in a weird way, it weeded out all the people that would put me at compromise of this. I can tell you, I still get challenged and catch myself sometimes in conversations, but I didn't expect what would happen next. And that is that the moment I became a person that didn't talk about other people, that if I had something to say, I said it to their face, or I didn't say it at all, I fell more in love with myself in a way where my self-confidence rose. And I realized that reflected hate, that thing that stands to take away what makes us feel good about ourselves, our imposter voice, guilt, and a lot of other things come from our own reflection. If you are lying or you're cheating, you do not trust anyone. You look around the world, you look through a certain lens, you see the world like that. I know because I work with people that have no trust, and it's a reflection on their character typically. And so I teach a lot in this particular area today in behavioral management. I have PhD consultants that are here that are doing mindset classes because I believe so much of what deters us from success are these inside factors that we have to face and we have to grow. So I don't know if I'm answering your question, but I guess to summarize, I think this is the problem I focused on. This past year, I focused on really being as authentic as I could be and being as honest as I could be. People have recently told me that I'm brutal, which is funny to me. I was like, brutal? What do you mean I'm brutal? And they're like, well, you're brutally honest now. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, yeah, but like, you don't even butter it up at all. Like your delivery is so harsh. And I'm like, oh man, like, am I turning into one of those old cranky people that just says it like it is and doesn't even care? So I don't know, but I challenge myself to find something new, to find something greater. Recently, I have said I'm going to commit a number of hours per week to giving back. And so just this month, we gave away 40 scholarships for 2022 coaching. through the hands of our master students. We gave them the gift of giving, which is a gift to them because it's a wonderful feeling to give them. And just, I continue to try to find ways. These things are soul filling, SOUL, not so filling, soul filling. And I'm just on that journey now. Call it deep, call it whatever you want, call it coming of age. I hope I have decades in front of me to continue to make a difference. I'm selective where I go today. I speak on less stages than I ever have. I'm a more private person, believe it or not. People think I'm an open book because of my social media, but there's so much in my life that is very intimate and private. And I'm just showing up with the responsibility as a teacher. I think the world is looking at me now as a teacher, and they come to me and they want that conversation that's going to be enlightening. And because I live in this zone now every day here at 2020, I'm ready for that conversation most of the time with anybody that wants to have it. And so it's a beautiful place to be in my life.
It absolutely is, because I think what you're saying is, in order to all of us show up for each other, we have to show up for ourselves as ourselves. Yes. Show up authentically. Work on the stuff that's hard. And work on the stuff that's uncomfortable. And I think I've said this before in my show, and I have absolutely no problem in admitting it. I go to counseling regularly because I'm diving deep into the things that I don't like, or the things that hurt and I need to recover from, because we all carry wounds internally, and we just sort of, we ignore them until you can't.
Yeah.
And I'm investing this time in myself because, like you, I want to show up better in the world, because I can no longer be just a consumer. And I think that that's what you're telling me too, is that you can no longer just be a consumer. You have to produce something positive and good in the world. And you happen to do it through your life, through your business, through every aspect that you have. You use every tool you've got. And I don't know if you have come to the realization of this, and I know that you're highly competitive, you're a phenomenal salesperson, but I don't think that's your real superpower at all. I think that those happen to be some of the aspects of you, but I don't think that that's what you've been put on this earth to do. I literally believe that you have been put on this earth to help other people reach their full potential. That is your gift. That is what you're supposed to do. And you just happen to be doing it in this space. And I think it's amazing and remarkable that through happenstance, through accident, maybe some gentle universal nudging, you found your purpose. And you found your purpose later in life. So one, that tells me that it's never too late to find your purpose.
Yep.
And two, that when you live in your purpose will take care of you. That, from this entire conversation, that is what I'm learning from you.
Well, first of all, thank you. And I've had a couple of people say what you just said to me, and it really still surprises me when I'm listening. And I was hanging on your every word as it was coming out of your mouth, because I'm like, what is she going to say? My sole purpose is. And I do think you're right. I'm coming to terms with that, because I spent my whole career thinking that, I had epic sales and brought companies to, this or that. Through interviews now that podcasting is more popular, I've had a lot of people say, why do you think you beat your competition? Why do you think you were more successful? And those types of questions have led me down deep paths of self-reflection, where I thought, why did I beat those other 205 branch managers, or why? And really, I sat down one night and had a long conversation with a dear friend that's also in the business. And we discovered, we unpacked this whole thing, and we thought, one of the edges that I was able to have is getting people to follow me. In order to have 125 people go from 0 to first place in 16 months, that meant like all 125 people, like really reaching heights they had never personally reached. So it's one thing for me as a competitor to compete man to man and bring myself there, but to get a group of people to follow you, And I think it's because I've never showed up and said, make me number one. I've said, you guys are in last place, and this is who you are and who you're seen as today. But what do you want to tell the world about who you are? And just that line in itself, which is what I said on the opening meeting when they were in last place. And I stayed up till 4 o'clock in the morning. First of all, I thought, will they always be thinking about me being the woman manager competing against these other 13 guys? What if I can't get them out of last place? These are the things that went through my mind. And then I thought, hell no, I'm just going to make them look inside. And let me tell you, I am here today because that principal was willing to fight my mother's reality of keeping me down. I am here today because those mentors showed up in my life to say they saw something in me. And because of that belief system in me, when I didn't have that belief system in myself, I rose through that. We want as people to become the heroes of our children's lives. We want to become the wives and husbands and just the community people. I have great aunts that have passed. I'm right now refurbishing a bureau of my great grandmother's, and it's a 1930s Art Deco dresser. I know nothing about furniture, but I started to research because she left it to me and it's been in storage for 2 decades. And I thought, well, this would be a really neat makeup table. I'm going to research it, its value, how to do it. And I've been working on it, and I've been dreaming of her. I've been thinking of her. I can remember her sitting at this dresser as a child. And it's just really had me like really kind of nostalgic. But I think the biggest thing that I think of is like the elder women in my family. They wrote the genealogy books of our family's background, and they served as librarians. And, I think I have that, in me. I have all those pieces of these women that came before me in my family that stood up in their communities and did extra work. So I see myself as being that. And I will tell you, I still think youthfully. I feel like I have a long, I hope, ride ahead. I hope to unearth even more teaching books. I hope to lecture in ways that move people beyond the places they are. I hope to sit with people that are hurting and help them digest why and what and how to move forward from those places. And yeah, if I can make a living doing this, which I am, that is less important to me than making a difference. So you are right. And my dad always said, put the people first and the money will come. If you always make the people first, you'll never worry, you'll be provided for. Because if you provide for people, people will provide for you. And I will tell you that has served for me to be true. And the ROI I get on my birthday just in November, early November, I had 28 bouquets of flowers come over 2 days. And my son was like taken aback by it. And he's 15. And he was kind of like, Mom, are you well known? Like what's going on? Like, why are
Mom,
so
are you famous?
yeah, kind of like that. And I'm not, but my boyfriend of 15 years said it the best. He said, your mother is loved. Your mother is loved. And I thought, this is my ROI. That was not money. That was not something I could go cash at a bank. But man, for the days I sat for that week looking around my house at these flowers, I just thought, what a beautiful existence. What a beautiful thing to have this type of gratitude for people to be so happy and thankful. So
What a beautiful legacy, not only for the people that you are leaving a trail behind you, but as dedication to the women that came before you. I mean, that's such a beautiful story and sentiment because I feel the same. I feel like I carry my grandmothers and my great grandmother with me. They blazed a trail that was harder than the one that I've had to blaze because they were women that weren't even treated as humans. They were treated as property. And so I bring them with me everywhere I go. And it's heartwarming to hear that you do the very same thing. And I cannot tell you how much I have enjoyed our conversation today. I hope everybody else has. I hope that they've taken something from our conversation. If there are people out there listening that want to reach out to you, regardless of their industry that they happen to be in. Maybe they just want to talk to you.
Yep.
How would they connect with you?
Absolutely. Just send us an email at info@visionyoursuccess.net. Info@visionyoursuccess.net. That actually will come directly into my inbox, my email inbox, and several other people in case I'm away from my desk. And
Heaven forbid.
yes. And it will get you to me, and I will talk to you. And I do that every week with a ton of people. Audra and I did not know each other. And she reached out to me and we spoke and we had mutual acquaintances. The wonderful and magnificent Marsha Davies, who she just did her last podcast on. If you didn't watch it, go back and watch it. And I watched it and it was amazing. And she's one of my idols as well. So anyways, well, I thank you for having this podcast, The Woman in the Arena. I definitely think I am one. And I'm out here fighting the good fight for all of us. So I hope to continue to be someone you get to watch in the future and applaud, hopefully. And we'll both be doing our part.
Absolutely. You and I are hopeful world changers. You and I want to change the world one person at a time.
That's it.
Thank you. Thank you again for being here. I appreciate it so much. And I appreciate all of you for listening and spending your week with us. And we'll see you again next time. That's our show. Thank you all so much for spending your time with me and continuing to support this show, this community, and our endeavor to change the world one interview at a time. If you have any ideas for a new show or for a guest that you'd like me to interview, please reach out to me at audra@womeninthearena.net. Thank you again for all of your support, and we'll see you again next time.
This is just the beginning.
That's our show. I am so grateful for each and every one of you and your unwavering support and your continued belief in this movement that has become much bigger than me, much bigger than just a podcast. It has become this forward momentum that we are all doing together. If you are ready, or you know somebody that is ready to tell your story and share your value with the world, please connect with me. You can reach me at audra@womeninthearena.net. I am so honored and thankful that you will share your story with me, and I'll make sure that it is well taken care of. I will never stop thanking each and every one of you, and I cannot wait to talk to you again next week as we share another woman's story and we celebrate her doing extraordinary things in plain sight. We'll see you next time.